to go on holiday and you get the cabin crew giving you the safety briefing. And what do they say to parents every time? In the event of an emergency, make sure you put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's very much like investing for your kids' future. Let me tell you why. And I'm also going to tell you why investing in junior ISAs gives me nightmares come the 18th birthday. So yeah, I speak to people all the time about investing. And one of the most common things is, where should I put money for my little kid? Or what should I do to invest for little Johnny's future? And that's really nice, and that's really compassionate that parents are thinking about investing for their kids' future. And that's great, right? Because we want to give our kids things that we didn't have. We want to provide things for them. But the danger of that is it often comes at the risk of them not investing for themselves. So the question I always ask is, what do you invest for yourself? And 99% of the time, the answer is, oh, nothing. I just want to put 100 quid or 50 quid away for the kids, so for the future, so they've got something come their 18th birthday. And for me, that's a mistake, because the risk with a junior ISA or a junior investment is every penny you put in there, you relinquish complete control over. So not only can you not access that money until your child's 18th birthday, you can't touch it at all. Once a pound or once a penny goes into that account, you've given control of that money to your child. They can't access it until they're 18, but it is theirs legally as soon as they turn 18. That matures into a normal ISA, and then they have full control over that money. And I don't know about you, but if I cast my mind back to my late teens, I was far from financially responsible. If I'd been given 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, which is not an unreasonable amount when you've been investing for 18 years, I don't know what I'd have done with it. Probably a lad's holiday or bought a car, but I certainly wouldn't have kept it. I certainly wouldn't have thought about using it for a house deposit or whatever other financial thing I needed along the way. And that's the biggest risk for me. And that's why it gives me nightmares, because if I invest in a junior ISA, my kids have complete control over what they want to do with that. But not just that, they might have a partner that you might not be a huge fan of. They are also going to have a significant say in that money come their 18th birthday. So there's so many things outside of my control in that scenario. And that's the reason why I don't invest anything in a junior ISA for my kids. What I do is invest in an order. I've got 5 steps in which I invest money, which I follow. The first is an emergency fund. So most people don't have an emergency fund, and the risk of that is if anything goes wrong, the car breaks down or your boiler breaks or the washing machine, you don't have any money to take out and use for that emergency. And what tends to happen with a lot of people is they end up putting that on credit cards or payday loans, even worse, or whatever means they've got of getting that money. And that's a real risk, because then that money is using compound against you. The interest rates are ridiculous. So you end up, paying back far more than what you actually borrowed. And that safety net just gives you a comfort zone, a peace of mind that you've got some money there should anything happen. As for how much, personally, I go for 3 times my monthly expenses, and it's my minimum monthly expenses. It's not a lavish 3 months that I would spend. It's the kind of bare necessities that I need. So I have that in an emergency fund, so I can call on that should I need it. But you've got to work with your own kind of margins and what's comfortable for you. The second step, in my opinion, that you want to do is pay down any expensive debt. Now, I don't necessarily mean your mortgage in that. I mean things like payday loans, like store cards, like credit cards, anything with double-digit debt. You want to make a plan to get rid of that as quickly as possible. And there's various different ways in which people recommend doing that, starting from, I think it's called the waterfall effect, where you pay off the highest interest rate debt first and then work your way down logically. Some where you pay off the smallest amount first so you get a quick win and then move on to the next one. I don't really think it matters. I think you've got to find what's comfortable for you, but definitely pay off that debt as quickly as possible so you can do it there. And then the third thing for me that I choose to do is invest in my stocks and shares ISA. So once I've got an emergency fund, once I've got no debt, I want to then look to put money in my stocks and shares ISA. And I pay myself first. So as soon as I get paid, I take an amount of that and I put it into that ISA every month. I review that every 6 months and I try to increase that, even if it's just by £10, £20. Once you do that every 6 months, it starts to build up. And that goes into a global all-world fund, which is the fund that's going to help me retire at 45 in the next 4 years. So I'm well down that path now, been investing over 10 years, and my portfolio at its current calculations is over £450,000. So I'm well on my way to retiring at 45 because I've been doing that for 11 years. Then, and only then, do I think you should look at investments for your kids. Because an individual, you have 20,000, and most people don't scratch the surface with that with regards to their investments. Most people have nothing at all. Most people in the UK don't have a stocks and shares ISA open. So once you've done that, and if you are fortunate enough where you can maximize that 20 grand as an individual or 40 grand as a couple, then it's maybe more logical to start thinking about investing for your kids. The other thing that plays into this as well, which should be done very early on, probably even before your emergency fund, in my opinion, is your pension. So if you have a workplace pension, you will have a contribution where your employer will match that. So they might match 5% if you put 5% in. That is free money. It's part of your salary. It's money that you're legally entitled to. So you also get significant tax savings. So for me, everyone from 18, as soon as they start getting employment, they should be paying into their pension, taking advantage of that tax-free money, because that is things you're entitled to through your employer. So that goes before everything else for me. I think put that amount in there, even for somebody like myself who wants to retire well before the pension age of 57. So that's super important for me to do that. So those are the 5 steps that I would encourage anybody to take. The biggest reason for me for the stocks and shares ISA is, you've just got no control over what happens. With my stocks and shares ISA, rather than the junior ISA, I can give my children money. A portion of that is going to be for them. So, they might want to go to university. I might be able to give them some money then, which I can take out of my own ISA. They might want to, buy a new car, which I can help them towards. They might want to buy their first house. I can help them towards their deposit. They might want to get married, and I can just take money out of them as and when I want. I'm not a big believer in keeping all of that money until I die and then they inherit that. Hopefully that's a long way to come. But the downside of that for me is I won't be there to witness that, and I won't get any enjoyment from it. So I'm very much of the opinion that I want to give money to my kids when they need it most. Personally, I need money way more in my 20s than what I do in my early 40s now. And I think my kids will be no different. So this is not me being tight and saying I don't want to give them money. I absolutely do. But I want to keep a little bit more control about that and how they get it. And that's the reason why I won't be investing a penny in the stocks and shares ISA. It's very unlikely that my wife and I will be able to invest over 40 grand a year into our ISAs. And for that reason, we will keep putting every penny we have in our stocks and shares ISA, and then the kids will get the money as and when we see fit and as and when they need it in the future. So that's it for me. Get those 5 steps in process: your pension, pay off any debt that you have, get your emergency fund, invest in your stocks and shares ISA, and then and only then should you think about investing for your kids if you're very fortunate. It's a different story for grandparents and friends and family if they want to invest for your kid. Way better than putting it in a stocks and shares junior ISA than a normal savings account, especially when we're talking an 18-year term, because hopefully that's got significant opportunity to compound over that term. So get those steps in order. Get investing for yourself, and like I say, it'll change your life, because it certainly has mine. If this kind of content interests you, I'm documenting my journey to retirement in the next 4 years. At 45, I've got just over £450,000 in my stocks and shares ISA now, which is hopefully going to compound and grow in the next 4 years, along with my contributions, and enable me to retire at 45. So if that kind of content interests you, hit subscribe, follow along, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.